Before the United States of America was even a dream, a vast, untamed continent stretched across North America. It was a land of breathtaking beauty, immense natural resources, and ancient mysteries, waiting to be discovered by a new world. For millennia, diverse indigenous civilizations thrived here, each with unique cultures, languages, and traditions. From the bustling cities of the Mississippian cultures to the nomadic tribes of the Great Plains, these peoples lived in harmony with the land. Then, in the late 15th and early 16th centuries, European explorers driven by ambition, wealth, and curiosity began to arrive. Their grand ships, symbols of a distant world, appeared on the horizon, forever altering the course of history for the continent. The English established their first permanent settlement at Jamestown in 1607. It was a brutal beginning, marked by disease, starvation, and conflict with the native Powhatan Confederacy. Survival was a daily struggle against overwhelming odds. 13 years later, in 1620, the Pilgrims arrived aboard the Mayflower seeking religious freedom. They landed at Plymouth, Massachusetts, forging a new society based on their deeply held beliefs, often with the crucial assistance of local Wampanoag tribes. Over the next century and a half, 13 distinct colonies emerged along the Atlantic coast. Each developed its own unique character, from the agricultural South reliant on enslaved labor to the mercantile North, and the religiously diverse middle colonies. Life in the colonies was a blend of hard work, community, and burgeoning self-governance. Farmers tilled the land, artisans crafted goods, and merchants traded across the Atlantic, fostering a growing sense of identity separate from Britain. However, this period was not without conflict. The French and Indian War, a global struggle between Britain and France, drew the colonies into a larger imperial contest, leaving Britain victorious but deeply in debt. To recoup its losses, Britain began imposing new taxes and regulations on the colonies, including the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts. These measures were met with fierce resistance, as colonists argued against taxation without representation. Tensions escalated dramatically with events like the Boston Massacre in 1770, where British soldiers fired into a crowd of protesters, killing 5 colonists. This incident fueled anti-British sentiment and galvanized resistance. The Sons of Liberty, a secret society of patriots, emerged as a leading force in the resistance. They organized boycotts, protests, and acts of defiance, challenging British authority at every turn. The Boston Tea Party in 1773 saw colonists, disguised as Native Americans, dump British tea into Boston Harbor in protest of the Tea Act. This bold act of defiance pushed Britain to retaliate with the Intolerable Acts. These punitive measures, designed to punish Massachusetts, only served to unite the colonies further. In 1774, representatives from 12 colonies convened the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia. They sought to address grievances and assert their rights, but the path to reconciliation was rapidly closing. The stage was set for an inevitable confrontation, a clash of ideals and power. On April 19, 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord. The shot heard round the world ignited a war for independence, forever changing the destiny of the colonies. The war had begun, but the colonies were not yet united in their goal of complete independence. Many still hoped for reconciliation with Britain, but the tide was turning. In July 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, a monumental document penned primarily by Thomas Jefferson. It declared the colonies' separation from Britain and articulated the fundamental rights of all people. The declaration transformed the conflict from a rebellion into a full-fledged war for freedom. The newly formed United States of America now faced the might of the British Empire, a formidable challenge. General George Washington was appointed commander of the Continental Army. His leadership, resilience, and strategic acumen would prove crucial in the long and arduous struggle ahead, inspiring his troops through immense hardships. This marks the beginning of a new chapter, a fight for liberty that would define a nation. Join us next time as we delve deeper into the Revolutionary War and the birth of the United States. As the 18th century dawned, the American colonies, once loyal outposts of the British Empire, began to stir with a burgeoning sense of identity. Decades of self-governance had fostered a spirit of independence, a stark contrast to the distant rule across the Atlantic. However, this growing autonomy was met with increasing British intervention. The costly 7 Years' War, known in America as the French and Indian War, left Britain deeply in debt, leading Parliament to seek new revenue from its colonies. Acts like the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts imposed taxes on everyday goods and legal documents, igniting widespread resentment. Colonists argued that taxation without representation was tyranny, a fundamental violation of their rights as Englishmen. Protests erupted across the colonies. From fiery speeches in town halls to organized boycotts of British goods, the colonists made their displeasure known. Secret societies like the Sons of Liberty emerged, ready to challenge British authority. The Boston Massacre in 1770 became a pivotal moment. British soldiers, provoked by an angry mob, fired into the crowd, killing 5 colonists. This tragic event fueled anti-British sentiment and solidified the image of an oppressive empire. 3 years later, the Boston Tea Party saw colonists, disguised as Native Americans, dump chests of British tea into Boston Harbor. This audacious act of defiance was a direct response to the Tea Act, which granted the East India Company a monopoly. Britain's response was swift and severe. The Intolerable Acts closed Boston Harbor, curtailed Massachusetts' self-governance, and allowed British officials to be tried in Britain. These punitive measures only served to unite the colonies further. In September 1774, delegates from 12 colonies convened in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. They sought to address grievances and coordinate a unified response to British policies, though independence was not yet their primary goal. Tensions escalated rapidly. On April 19, 1775, British troops marched to Lexington and Concord to seize colonial arms. The ensuing skirmishes marked the first shots of the American Revolutionary War, forever changing the course of history. The Second Continental Congress soon assembled, forming the Continental Army and appointing George Washington as its commander. The path to reconciliation with Britain was rapidly closing, replaced by the growing clamor for complete separation. Thomas Paine's influential pamphlet, Common Sense, published in early 1776, eloquently argued for independence, swaying public opinion and galvanizing support for a complete break from British rule. Finally, on July 4, 1776, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. Penned primarily by Thomas Jefferson, this monumental document proclaimed the colony's right to self-governance and articulated the ideals of liberty and equality. The Declaration was not merely a statement. It was a revolutionary act, a bold challenge to the most powerful empire in the world. It ignited a long and arduous war, but also laid the foundation for a new nation, built on radical principles. The American Revolution was a struggle for survival, a testament to the colonists' unwavering belief in their cause. From the frozen fields of Valley Forge to the decisive victory at Yorktown, the fight for freedom was hard won. After years of conflict, the Treaty of Paris in 1783 officially recognized the United States of America as an independent nation. A new chapter in world history had begun, forged in the fires of revolution. The newly independent states faced the monumental task of forming a unified government. The Articles of Confederation, their first attempt, proved too weak, leading to calls for a stronger federal system. In 1787, delegates gathered again in Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention. After intense debate and compromise, they drafted the United States Constitution, establishing a framework for a robust republic. The Constitution, with its system of checks and balances and separation of powers, aimed to prevent tyranny while ensuring effective governance. Its ratification, however, was not without fierce opposition from anti-federalists. To address concerns about individual liberties, the Bill of Rights was added, guaranteeing fundamental freedoms. This crucial addition secured the Constitution's ratification and cemented the rights of American citizens. Thus, the United States of America was born, a nation founded on revolutionary ideals and a commitment to self-governance. Its journey was just beginning, but the foundations for a powerful and enduring republic had been laid. As the dust settled from the American Revolution, a new nation emerged, forged in the fires of independence. But the path ahead was far from clear. The fledgling United States, under the Articles of Confederation, soon faced critical challenges that threatened its very existence. The Articles, designed to prevent a powerful central government, proved too weak to effectively govern. States squabbled over trade, economic instability loomed, and Shays' rebellion highlighted the urgent need for a stronger, more unified framework. In the summer of 1787, 55 delegates converged in Philadelphia, their mission to revise the Articles. What unfolded, however, was a monumental undertaking to draft an entirely new constitution, a document that would define the American experiment. Giants like James Madison, the father of the Constitution, and Alexander Hamilton championed a robust federal system. Yet fierce debates raged over representation, slavery, and the balance of power. Reflecting the diverse interests of the young nation, compromises were painstakingly reached, forging a government with three distinct branches: legislative, executive, and judicial. This innovative system of checks and balances aimed to prevent tyranny and protect individual liberties. The Constitution was signed, but its ratification was far from guaranteed. Federalists advocating for its adoption clashed with anti-federalists who feared a powerful central government would erode state sovereignty and individual rights. To appease the anti-federalists and secure ratification, the Bill of Rights was promised. These first 10 amendments guaranteed fundamental freedoms, becoming a cornerstone of American liberty and a testament to the power of compromise. With the Constitution ratified, George Washington was unanimously elected as the first president. His leadership was crucial in establishing the new government, setting precedents and navigating the complex challenges of a nascent republic. Washington's administration faced immediate tests, from the Whiskey Rebellion, which asserted federal authority, to maintaining neutrality amidst European conflicts. These early decisions shaped the nation's foreign and domestic policies. The differing visions of Hamilton and Jefferson soon led to the formation of America's first political parties, the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. This ideological divide would profoundly influence the nation's future. Thomas Jefferson's presidency marked a shift, most notably with the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. This vast acquisition doubled the size of the United States, opening up immense opportunities for westward expansion and shaping the continent's destiny. However, tensions with Great Britain escalated, fueled by impressment of American sailors and British support for Native American resistance. These grievances ultimately led to the War of 1812, a conflict that tested the young nation's resolve. Though inconclusive, the War of 1812 fostered a new sense of national identity and pride. The era of good feelings followed, characterized by political unity and rapid economic growth, as America looked westward with renewed vigor. From the struggle for independence to the establishment of a constitutional republic, early American history laid the foundation for a nation unlike any other. As the 19th century dawned, America stood poised for an era of unprecedented expansion and transformation.